Hi, Book 2. Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner, and it's time for a 7 on Sunday, although technically, as I'm filming this early, but I figure I'd get it done now. I want to try to get back into doing 7 on Sunday, because I kind of forgot about it. Like, I've skipped several, I think I skipped both August and September's, topic ideas, so I want to try to get back into it this month because all the topics are really very much more of, again, topics that I could probably do with what I have instead of. But anyway, 7 on Sunday is a Goodreads crew created by Grace from G Spiz. She's a booktuber, and it's basically just like Top 5 Wednesday, where you pick, instead it's top 7 on Sunday. So the topic for this coming Sunday, which is not going to be here until for a week, I believe. This Sunday's topic is the books on your wish list. So I'm mostly focused on my Amazon wish list because my mom does have an Amazon account. As I said before, I have a Thrift Books account, and basically anything on my Amazon account, I will put on my Thrift Books account as well. Okay, so books on my wish list, and obviously I don't have them because they're on my wish list. I have nothing to show you guys, and I do not know how to put on the screen images. Okay, so first is The Wrath by John Gwynne, which is the 4th book in the Faithful and the Fallen series. Do I have the? Oh, I have to get up and show you, and I'm lazy. This is book 4. I got books 2 and 3 for Christmas last year from Terry, and so now I want to get book 4 this year. This is so that I can read. I did start reading Valor. I haven't read it yet, and I did kind of bring it with me to that I was going to read during my 15-minute break, but then I got the audiobook I recently put on hold on Libby, which is Till. That came in, so I could finally borrow. So I started reading that instead, and because there was no one in the break room, I decided to use that opportunity to listen to Till. So I didn't get to Valor, but I'm gonna read that one tomorrow. I'm going to read that one tomorrow because I'm off tomorrow, and then I'm also off Thursday, so I'll read it Thursday too. But yeah, this is the so that is the last book. Is epic fantasy. In this world, there's this prophecy that the bright star and the black sun will fight in battle, and we don't know who the bright star and the black sun are. It's a multi-perspective story. There's also giants, so if you are a fan of giants in fantasy or want to see more books where giants play more of a role, then the series does do that, and the giants play a bigger role in this one. It's a really fun series. It's a bit tropey, but it's still fun, It's just, it's fun and exciting. So as long as it's a good story, I think an author can get away with tropes. So that is Wrath. That is number 1. Okay, number 2 is Empire of Ivory. A lot of these are basically books in a series. Empire of Ivory is the 4th book in the Temeraire series by Naomi Novak, which I think was written before. It was written before Uprooted. It was the first work that she worked on, which is basically, it's an alternate history where it's set during the Napoleonic Wars, and in this world, in this version of our world, there are dragons. Dragons are real, and we use dragons to fight in the war. And when a navy captain comes across they commandeer a dragon egg and on a French ship, and he ends up accidentally bonding with the dragon. The dragon's name is Temeraire. In each book, and I've already read the second and the third one, so I want to get the 4th one so I can read it. But and they're very quick reads. They're really fun, you know, and Terror is just such an adorable dragon, you know. Yeah, he's fierce and big and scary, but he's also adorable. He's like a giant dog that can breathe fire and can fly. And he's also like a child. But I want to get that one so I can continue with that series. So that was number 2. Number 3. Okay, so I blame BookTube for this, you guys. I blame you guys for this, but I have been getting into collecting the fancier, nicer editions, like the vintage and the cloth bound. Like, I do have, before BookTube, I did, you know, start collecting those leather bound Barnes & Noble ones that, like, the omnibus kind of editions with the bookmark in them and everything, the ribbon bookmark. I have some of those, but those they're not portable. Those ones you can't, it's like, I mean, you could, but they're kind of heavy. So I can't travel with them and go places. Like, when I go to see my sister or my grandma, I can't bring them with me. I mean, I could, but they're big. The ones that I have are big. So they're a nuisance to bring. And I had started, like, some of the Dickens novels, like, even the ones that are in my Dickens one, I started buying individual copies of them. So, yeah, there was a little hint of aesthetically pleasing books, but I was never into collecting collector's editions or anything like that. And not that these really are collector editions per se. They're not like the ones, the sprayed edges, and they have, like, the beautiful images on them, and, all that kind of stuff. They're, like, basically collections of, like, different editions of classic books, of older books, like the Penguin classics and stuff like that. So, number 3, I actually said the vintage classics editions of Emma and Mansfield Park, and I just put those two together, because I really like those vintage editions. And so far, those next two, Pride and Prejudice, are some of my favorite Jane Austen, because I'm definitely getting to really like Jane Austen a lot more. I'm just, like I said, it's not my first, romance is just not my first choice. And that's kind of what Jane Austen, she writes a lot about romance and stuff. Of course, that's also like saying, Stephen King only writes horror, which he doesn't, but he writes a lot about it. It's one of his signature, genre. So, in a way, I feel like romance is like Jane Austen's signature genre. It's what she knew, his life, day-to-day life of the world she knew. That's what she writes about. And then people getting romance because her love life kind of sucked. Because, her family was poor. Her dad didn't make a lot of money, and so she couldn't really, and she wanted to live by her pen, as, just said in the movie Becoming Jane. And so she was going to be poor and wanted to marry for love. She didn't just want to marry someone for convenience. So, I'm getting, so I can understand why she writes a lot about love, because she didn't get the love, the romance that she wanted, and so her characters get that romance. She probably lived vicariously through her characters. But anyway, out of all of her books so far, the ones, like, I'm just, like, Persuasion's my least favorite, but I love Mansfield Park and Emma. Like, I relate to Fanny Price's character in Mansfield Park. And then Emma is fun and, silly and stuff, and her being, like, a matchmaker and, and I want to read those in a way that's, like, again, like with the Dickens books, where I wanted to have individual paperback copies of the books so that I can read them individually and not read them, like, via audiobook, listening to them on audiobooks, because, yeah, I gotta admit, when it comes to audiobooks, my attention is not completely there. Like, I gotta admit, I'm a little confused right now with Till. Like, I don't entirely know what's going on. Like, did we skip ahead in time and stuff? I almost feel like if I was reading the actual physical book instead of listening to the audiobook, and I know a lot of people do that. A lot of people will read the physical and audiobook. But anyway, getting off topic. So yeah, I want to get the vintage classics editions of those two, and then and I'll have to see if I like any of the other ones as well, because if any of the other ones are in those, if I love any other Jane Austen, then I might get vintage classics editions of some of those. Like I feel like, Northanger Abbey could be contender, which is another one I like. So really the only one that I'm not a big fan is Persuasion. Like, I don't know about Lady Susan, because I did love the movie Lady Susan. I don't know about the book, though. Although, it's more of an epistolary novel, I think. But yeah, the vintage classics editions of those two. Number 4 is another reference to another book that's to do with Jane Austen, and that is the other Bennet sister by Janice Hadlow. This is basically about, I think it's Mary Bennet. I think it's her story. Yeah, it's her story and her perspective on the events of Pride and Prejudice, I believe. And there's actually also another, which I should have put that one on here too, but Caroline, which is basically about the woman that marries Mr. Collins, and Elizabeth's friend, who marries, I don't know why I say Caroline, but not Caroline. Caroline is Bingley's sister's name. But I cannot remember her first name. But the one, like I said, she's the one that married Mr. Collins in the end of the book, and she was Elizabeth's best friend. But there's a book about her that will be coming out soon, I believe. And about her life and her, her decision to marry Mr. Collins and stuff. And that sound, Katie from Books and Things made that sound really interesting. She also was one of the people that made the other Bennet sister really interesting. It's so funny though, because I was never a huge fan of Austen. Like, I was familiar with the works. I'd seen adaptations that were based on her books, but, it wasn't like I was a super fan or anything, It was kind of fun, interesting and stuff, but it's not until now that I'm more interested. So yeah, the other Bennet sister by Janice Hadlow. And that was number 4. Number 5 is another series, another fantasy. It's a middle grade series, actually, I believe. And I have the first 2 books from the series. I actually got them from the Roast Office bookshop before all this happened. But I did not realize it was only the second and third book. So I need the first book. And I'm so frustrated with myself because I had the first book. But then I got rid of it because I was thinking at the time, I'm never going to read this. I mean, But then one day, like, I hear Reagan talk about that series. I was like, oh my god, I used to have that first book and then I got rid of it. Why did I do that? Because, so I went ahead and bought the second and third book. Because who knows, it might have disappeared by the time I went back. And I put the first book on my Amazon wish list and on my thrift books wish list as well. So, but yeah. So, which my thrift books wish list is more just to keep me organized, so I can refer back to and I can easily find it. The particular one that I want, because especially with classics, they always have different editions. Like I said, I want the vintage classic editions of some of Jane Austen's works, and I have been tempted to put the vintage classics edition of Anna Karenina and War and Peace. More so Anna Karenina, because I have a small copy. I mean, I do like it because it kind of looks vintage itself. It's not fancy, but it looks like it has yellow pages and it's, very, like, it looks retro. But, I'm worried it's a small book and I might tear the pages. They're like Bible thin pages, so I almost want to get the vintage classics edition. But then I would feel obligated to get rid of the one I have. But in this case, I almost don't want to get rid of the one that I have. Because, like I said, the way it really does look old-fashioned. And it is, in fact, I think it is older. It's quite a few years older. But anyway, back to the Amulet of Samarkand by Jonathan Stroud. Like, that's the first book. It's kind of a like I said, it's a middle grade series, and I almost feel like it's kind of Middle Eastern references. And I think our main character is a boy. That's the other reason why I want to read it, because I want to one day, present it to Harrison and Daniel one day, and be able to say that I've read it and that I enjoyed it. So I just need to get the first book, and then I can read the trilogy. Okay, so number 6, again, this is a fancier edition. I just want to get a fancier edition of it, and that is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I think it's Emily's book. I think Wuthering Heights is written by Emily, and I want to get the cloth bound, which is basically those fabric looking material. It comes with a bookmark. I have up top, on my top shelf, you can't see it, but I have the Odyssey in that edition because I saw it and I was like, you know what the heck, I'm gonna buy that version of the Odyssey. So I bought it. It doesn't match my copy of the Iliad because my copy of the Iliad is paperback. But I just figured, why don't I go ahead and do this? I mean, I feel like, I do want these kinds of editions, but I feel like I can't bring myself. So when I feel the desire to, splurge a little bit and buy that kind of edition, then I will get it. But I do think that it's better to order that kind of stuff online, even if you see it in the store, because it's going to be cheaper, I think, online, even if it's a little bit fancy. So, yeah, so that's more I just want to buy. Actually, although I don't have Wuthering Heights, when I first read it, I got it from the library, so. But, yeah, that's the cloth-bound edition. And then last, book number 7, the final book, is Tooth and Claw by Jo Walton. Again, another sort of to do with Jane Austen. It is a retelling of Pride and Prejudice, but with dragons. And I'm guessing that the characters, it's one of those stories where they take forms of dragons, but they also look human, too. Because, I don't know, it would be kind of weird, a little weird. But, I mean, maybe they are completely dragons. I don't know. But this is a book that Jean from Jean's Book of Thoughts has talked about. It's one of her favorite retellings of Pride and Prejudice. So I've been meaning to get it, but I kept forgetting to, mark it as a book that I want to read someday, and I want to buy it someday. But finally I remembered one day, and I put it on my Amazon wishlist, and I put it on my thrift books, because it's an older book. So that is my 7 on Sunday, and my wish list, my 7 books on my wish list. Whether you guys want to do the 7 on Sunday thing or not, I'd be curious to know what is on your wish list. What are books that you would like to buy right now, or you're hoping you'll get for Christmas if you celebrate Christmas, or if you have a birthday coming up, you have an autumn or winter birthday. What are books you would hope to get? And I will talk to you guys later. All right. Enjoy your reading. Bye.